Let's go!
What happened at EVO this year? Because there was a lot of shit that happened at EVO, and I think we just got to go over every single one and my overall thoughts on it and get like a state of fighting games, because EVO has essentially become the E3 of fighting game news and announcements. So we have this post EVO sort of like celebration of where we are currently, how long it's going to take for this stuff to come out, what should we be looking forward to in the near future, and what other stuff that I maybe not give as much attention to. Because granted, I'll do reaction videos and things that I'm actually like excited about and I'm looking forward to and I want to try. So there's a lot of other stuff that isn't that, you know. There's a lot of other stuff that, you know, like the new Under Night update and all that kind of stuff that we need to talk about and show off that, yeah, there's a lot of really cool shit happening. Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl 2. Let's just start at the beginning. Number one was obviously the big Ninja Turtles announcement for Street Fighter. I think this announcement was okay, right? I think this announcement is kind of cool, but it ultimately, you know, has issues. And we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna talk about this thing in the future and what issues it is. The one that's interesting, I think, is Aki. And Aki is... I don't think this character looks as cool as I thought she did. I think they're trying to hit something that's sort of creepy, right? I think they're trying to do something with Aki that is relatively creepy and maybe interesting. However, I'm gonna make a prediction right now. I'm probably the least excited about Aki at the moment than I am with every other Street Fighter DLC character. Why is that? Because after this teaser trailer, I am getting hella Fong vibes. Fong or Fang or whatever the heck his name was in Street Fighter 5. And we already kind of presumed that might be the case. And I'm talking strictly from a gameplay perspective. She's super weird. She's trying to be creepy. And I just get that vibe. So I would not be surprised if that carries over directly into her gameplay. And if that's like her gameplay gimmick is this poison over time thing, I think that they just made Fong one of the most annoying characters ever. And I really hope that she's actually like scary, right? I hope that they make her not weird and annoying, which is what Fong was, but just like weird and really exemplify the creepiness, right? Exemplify the fact that she's creepy and psychotic and all this crazy shit. If they're able to do that and also get that through a gameplay, like Hisako, 100%, like almost a Hisako-like, I'll be much happier because, man, the closer we get to Fong, the further away I want to be. Next big announcement is this one. And Mr. Johnny is showing up to Guilty Gear looking very Johnny-like, almost in my very basic, you know, visual understanding of Johnny's costume. This guy always looks the same. They just refuse to change the way he looks, really, outside of a couple of small things. It reminds me of how Baiken translated directly over from Guilty Gear, the X-Art series into Strive, where it's like, oh, she doesn't look that different. She does. She had a bit of differences, but it's sort of the same thing. They took away his nipples. Yeah, why mess with what's perfect? And I completely disagree. I think Johnny's always been this weird try-hard, I'm trying to be cool sort of character. I felt that ever since Guilty Gear X, but I am curious to see what they're doing with gameplay stuff. So this will be another good opportunity just to jump back in and try some Guilty Gear Strive. If you guys haven't checked out Strive in a while and it's been like a really long time, I'm hearing from several people that some of the bigger grievances we had with like lobby matching and all that kind of stuff have been fixed. And there was a lot of crossplay issues with the game when it moved over to Xbox and all the crossplay stuff was happening, but I'm hearing it's a lot better as of right now. So on top of all the new system mechanics, there's a lot of stuff changing in Guilty Gear Strive. It feels like around the 24th is when Johnny comes out. There might be a really, really, really good chance for everyone to jump back in and give the game a shot, including myself. So we'll have to see what the game is like fighting an absolute swath of happy chaos, but I'll jump in, I'll try Johnny, and hopefully it'll be fun and enjoyable and more reasons to interact with the game in a variety of new ways that all these new mechanics do, and maybe I'll want to jump back to an old character or something like that. But we'll see. I'm very curious how the online stuff has actually changed since then. So probably the best announcement, with one of the best trailers dropped near the final day of EVO, and the Mortal Kombat trailer. I want to do a deep dive into this and talk a bit more about how Mortal Kombat is different in this build, because a lot of people have gameplay from the build, and Lee May was playable, and there's a lot of stuff out there now that we haven't had a chance to go over because we were so busy watching the tournament. This MK trailer was hella dope, and I feel like they have one of the best reptile designs, and also keeping Reptile, his crazy lizard tail freak body. They did a pretty good job making him an actual big stupid lizard and a cool looking dude. Outside of everything else, you know, I feel like Mortal Kombat 1, and it hasn't been a long time, is in a better state it is now visually than it, and just everything promotionally. Like, it looks so good now. To me, it's hitting a lot of notes. However, I still got to see it. I still got to play it in person. I got to get my hands on it, because feel is one thing, right? It's all about feel, and the feel of the original playable one we played at Summer Games Fest, and the feel of the beta was just a little off and a bit delayed and stuff like that, and a bit slow. And it looks like a lot of that stuff is changing, so we're gonna have to go deep dive in and sort of figure out all the stuff that was there at EVO. But I think MK1's in a pretty goddamn good state right now. There's so many, chat. Let's just speed through some of these. The relative Tekken announcements, and yeah, they made Raven absolutely insane looking. There was a lot of stuff that happened from Tekken at EVO, which was spending so much stage time talking about Wi-Fi users sort of plaguing their beta test, right? And fix your Wi-Fi, stop playing on Wi-Fi, can you please play on a wired connection? And that was a bit discouraging. I'm not anticipating Tekken 8's netcode to be that much better than Tekken 7's in the long run. Hopefully it'll get ironed out and things will get solved and resolved. But luckily, the game is fun as shit, and they're adding a couple characters that look, holy crap, fun as shit. I have not really wanted to play like the traditional like Kunimitsu or Master Raven or Raven characters in this game, but I'm starting to what Raven looks like and all the crazy like shadow clone shit he's doing is so badass, man. I'm like, whew, I don't know, dude. This might be like a character for me in this shit. Like, I might actually have to go back and see what Master Raven's base moveset is, so I can sort of get used to it, because these have always been weird characters in Tekken historically. Like, the way they play is kind of odd. Yeah, I'm gonna like make him into a Strider or something like that. He seems wild. Things seem just absolutely insane. Like, he's almost like a brand new character, it feels like. But granted, the old school Ravens, I just don't have that much time with, and because my Tekken prowess in terms of like actually learning characters is very low. I literally played Lars in Tekken 7 for Tekken 6 for a week when he came out, and one or two training sessions in T7 before the beta we just recently played. And all of my experience of, I've played more Lars in the Tekken 8 beta than I ever have, it feels like, at this point. But yes, this character and Azucena are both pretty damn interesting, what they're bringing to the plate, and I think this game's gonna do very well. I think it's got a lot of stuff that looks really fun, and you know, netcode issues aside, which is always an issue, these characters look awesome, man. The coffee thing, I don't know if I'm completely down with it, but I think the way she fights is actually super cool. So I think Tekken's in a good spot. Let's just hope that, you know, eventually there's new network tests and some of the netcode gets ironed out. What I am curious about is what the hell is going on with the female faces in this game, bro. All the male faces like emote like crazy, and they properly deform and squash and stretch. There is something weird. They do not want their female characters to actually like emote, and it's a stark contrast. It's like a polar 1-to-1 difference. They look like dolls. They 100% do. It's a 1-to-1 difference of one end being one side of the spectrum where characters don't emote that much, like the female characters, and then the Street Fighter characters where they just emote like crazy to the point where they're like ugly in some shots. And that's essentially what they're doing with Aki, where it's like, oh, Aki's like kind of cute and crazy, and then she just turns into like absolutely psycho looking in some shots. And I'm like, it's the complete polar opposite, where they're willing to really take their female characters in like completely different directions, you know? So I don't know, it's this reaches sort of like somewhat DOA levels of like, man, why don't any of the female characters' faces move that much? Like, what is going on? Because all the male characters sort of do have a lot of really expressive shit. Hopefully that's just early stuff, right? Early in development stuff. Probably one of my favorite announcements, because we've talked about this before. The expectations of Galro. The expectations that a new Fatal Fury game would have in the audience is pretty high. And again, do I think those expectations have specifically been met with City of the Wolves? Maybe not. Maybe not what people were expecting of like the old Galro. However, there have been some direct comparison videos and people directly looking at like frames of animation and what's going on here with these characters, and there is a lot more going on visually than before. Like a whole bunch more going on visually with the characters in the new Fatal Fury, which is pretty goddamn cool, man. It's cool to see some like new animations, even though characters are doing similar moves, but new animations and stuff like that, and a pretty good hint at a larger roster that's going to be in the game. So there's not much else to say. I think it looks great. I think it looks visually very good and easily the best 3D SNK game yet, and it's still early. This other one is pretty big too. KOF15 global match, which had some inconveniently timed betas during like other big betas, has been going down, and this got an official release date. So anybody that's a super big KOF13 fan, this game, like depending on how much it costs, I think is easily one of the best pickups you can absolutely get. The weirdest thing is that yes, it is a PlayStation 4. It's a PS4 version of the game. Do we have like a pre-order? Does anybody know how much the actual price is? Do we have like a pre-order or something like that? I hope it's like 20 bucks. I really do hope it's like a $20 to $30 price point. I think anything more than that is like, it's kind of like asking a lot for a classic game. This is coming out. Another big reason to jump back in and check out KOF13. Hopefully the netcode doesn't have that many issues on launch. Samurai Showdown Rollback, which is going to be dropping in September. This has gone through a variety of crazy things in its beta state. I don't know the last state that it was in with the rollback patches, because people were playing the like the kind of like the alpha beta rollback versions of Sam Show. But again, if I would just, it'd be fun just to jump online and check this shit out. The only problem with this update was that it's not crossplay. It is not crossplay. So even if the rollback is really good, it's still going to be very like, you know, segmented, smaller communities fighting each other. But still, it will be nice, right? It'd be nice to jump into Samurai Showdown and have it not just be completely bogged down by the internet experience of the game. KOF15 got a what was the last game this character showed up in? It was probably KOF13. Duo showed up and looks ridiculously cool. I think Najd recently came out in KOF15 as well. So pretty dope, man. Pretty dope that the SNK came out like absolutely swinging with a whole bunch of stuff. Like there's literally 4 different SNK fighting game announcements here. Like they are up to bat, and then they're up to bat again and again and again. So there's just so much stuff happening in all of their games that it's been hard for me to even keep up, because I haven't even had a chance to check out Go Nuts. But yeah, Duo's showing up, and I think a lot of people will be really excited about that. This character's really fun. I remember playing a bit of Duo in KOF 13 and just trying it out. I'm like, ooh, these are some good hit confirms. This stuff is very fun, and I think they ended up being super good in that game too. So there is, yeah, funny enough, there is also an adjustment to matchmaking in the latest update that came with Najd. So if anybody is like really curious, and I naturally am too if there wasn't a billion other things to play as of right now, but there is a matchmaking fix. So that is crazy that maybe matchmaking is fixed. It's still kind of early as of right now, but there was adjustments made. More reasons to check out KOF 15 if you hadn't in the past. And they also changed the ranked. From what I understand, it goes above champion now, and they did sort of a similar thing that Street Fighter 6 did, sorta, where it goes beyond the highest rank now, and you're able to distribute these stars and all this kind of stuff for fighting people that are of good rank. But anyway, we'll have to check it out. I got really close to being champion. I just didn't play that much ranked in the game. Another minor announcement. Killer Instinct is getting an anniversary update this fall. I don't think I've had a chance to divulge into this too much because I was involved with the announcement. But yeah, I think it's just absolutely batshit crazy that Iron Galaxy is back and working on KI again in any way. And to me, I'll just throw this out, completely unrelated to any involvement that I have. I've said this several times in the past. I think one of the best things that could happen to KI, outside of like getting Japanese developers and all this rumored stuff for the past many years, I think one of the best things that could have happened to KI was to get Iron Galaxy back on board and actually give them a budget. This definitely feels like something that is trying to like test the waters a little bit and trying to get you to jump back in and check the game out and refresh the game in some way. But I personally feel that if there's any dev out there that deserves the budget of doing either new KI or updates to old KI or whatever, I think it should have always been Iron Galaxy. And it's unfortunate what happened to Rumbleverse. I'm not too sure if that's related to anything or not, because again, Rumbleverse was epic, and we don't know the full story behind that. But it's clear that they're like available, and now they're back and working on the game. So I think it's wonderful. I think if there's anybody that understands what makes KI good and fun, it is Iron Galaxy, because the game has changed so much over the past, years it was in development, and has changed a lot over the past 5 years that it's not been in development too. So seeing what that's going to result in is just going to be fun, man. It's just going to be great to come back to Killer Instinct later in the fall when this update comes out and have a bunch of new people checking out KI, a bunch of old people, and yeah, it should be a hell of a good time. But what's actually included in this, we really don't know. It is all that's been announced is a balance update, is an actual balance update to the roster, and how extensive that goes, we have no idea. Is it going to be minor? Is it going to be major? Can't talk about it yet. We're just have to wait for Microsoft to officially announce that stuff. Some huge announcements, there's some huge responses on Twitter and stuff, was how good the goddamn Street Fighter costumes are, man. Like, all of these costumes that they teased, and it seems that we're finally going to get alternate costumes for some characters. They all look friggin' fantastic. I hope Ken's is going to be good. I hope it's going to be interesting in some way, because Ken historically gets some pretty whack alternate costumes and things that aren't Street Fighter V. But I think they look great. The Marissa one looks the best. I'm curious how the Marissa one's going to look in-game. But I think hers is easily my favorite one, right next to Jury, and then probably DJ, and then Guile. But yes, we're getting alternate costumes in Street Fighter 6, and that should come as no surprise. Please don't be insanely price gouging like the Ninja Turtle stuff, which we'll talk about later. This is also a big one. Under Night got announced, is like a proper big expansion to the game. This sort of reminds me of like a Grandblue Fantasy versus Rising kind of game, where they're changing a lot under the hood and what's going to be happening. But all it really is like a new package to get people to play the game with rollback netcode, right? More reasons to check out Under Night with actual better rollback netcode and online experience. I'm not too sure how people feel overall. A lot of people still, from what I understand, feel it looks kind of like samey, like a BlazBlue upgrade in some way. But still, like, it feels like a lot of budget and time, and they said this went into completely reworking the whole goddamn game, because these games obviously are not super high budget. So anyway, why should you care about Under Night? This is one of the most celebrated hardcore anime fighting games in the fighting game community. Is it absolutely massive and huge? It isn't. But for the majority of people that jump in and dedicate like a bit of time and play this game, everyone says they absolutely effing love it. I'll have to jump in and try it again, because the online was always a big thing holding me back. And I never really had characters. I don't really love the way it looks, but for everybody else that is like in the FGC, man, people love this game. This game really hits on a mechanical level that makes people very happy. So if it's something that looks even remotely interesting to you, I think the rollback netcode update should definitely be something you check out, because yes, it'll be a big moment for Under Night fans and people checking out the game for the first time. Couple other things. Pocket Bravery has been around for quite some time. I haven't had a chance to check the game out yet on stream, outside of just seeing like updates and stuff like that. But they have a proper release date. We've seen like this game in small different pieces. It's a beautifully animated 2D fighting game, pretty much indie developed, has rollback netcode, has like all the features that you had been hoping for in games. And looks like it even has like story mode stuff. There's a closed beta that's starting next week. There's just so much stuff. And this is the thing that I kind of wanted to show off, that there's a whole bunch of like other indie fighting games and stuff like that showing up very soon. So yeah, like there's just a lot happening. So if you love pixel art stuff and this looks like something that is appealing, we have to check this out eventually, because there's so many things, man. I think I'm actually in the background of one of these stages, no joke. I might actually be a character in a background of one of these stages. It's wild. This got announced, and we didn't talk about it very much, but Nickelodeon AllStar Brawl 2 is happening, and it's got like crazy ass mechanics, and it's got Plankton in a mech, and it's got meters and all this crazy shit. So, I mean, the way I feel about this is that, oh, this is kind of the game that people hoped they were getting before, right? Nick AllStar Brawl 1 was kind of fun. It was kind of a fun game, but was clearly lacking polish and was clearly, like, not the thing that everybody thought they were getting. It felt like they spent a lot of money adding the voices in a patch later on. This isn't a second season. This is, like, a completely, like a sequel is what they're treating it as. So I feel like if you like Smash style games, and this roster obviously has some appealing things, this game is worth checking out, but not, I don't think it's worth over like $40, and it really depends on what's in it. It really depends on how polished it is, because obviously the voices were very expensive and they had to make a new game because of it. But it looks a bit better, right? It looks a bit better than what they were doing before, which is good, because it was that final level of polish that I felt was kind of holding the first version of the game back quite a bit. So it obviously visually looks better, you know. The first one did that well? I guess so, right? I mean, I guess so. The first one did well enough for them to get all the voice actors and shit. So we got to try this. This will be some good. This was actually a lot of fun with Yo video games, and I just hope like online stuff and all that shit just gets part of that ironing out with that final level of polish. Almost done. There's so much. Obviously, I made a big video on this. Yasuo is a playable character in Project L. We have some Project L matches I'd like to review and go over at some point. There were the devs at EVO fighting each other, and to go over some of those matches and sort of show like some of the nuance to the gameplay mechanics and stuff. But overall, I think Project L had a pretty good debut at EVO. I think a lot of people that played this game kind of had a lot of fun with it. And especially the most intriguing thing about Project L, because I don't think PL is going to be the ultimate, like, this is the game that saves the fighting game community. That maybe if it came out a few years ago, yes, it could have been. But as of right now, it just looks like a really solid, really fun team-based fighting game with League of Legends characters. But where it is super like innovative and where the game is going to do some crazy stuff outside of being free to play is going to be in duos. I think the team stuff that they have really shined with a lot of people, and it was, as I said in my preview that we played, easily some of the most fun I had with the game was in duos, and either me fighting a duo team or anything like that. I think that stuff is genuinely super interesting, and I feel like that is going to be where I'm going to get a lot of my playtime in the game and stuff. So we're just going to have to wait. Like, I have no idea how far it's going to take for us to eventually get all this stuff. It's just the game's in a state where they're still trying to figure stuff out. And it's pretty clear that, like, it still needs some obvious polish. It's a really good slice of life of what they're working on. And, like, a proof of concept that, like, yeah, our team-based fighting game is dope. And it works. But I think like there's obviously some stuff like defensive mechanics that almost every single person that put more time into the game sort of agrees on. Yeah, they got to figure out the defensive mechanics in some way. And something that I should give a shout out, because we did cover this game, right? I did play it. And it maybe isn't the game that I'm going to follow near and dear to my heart for the rest of time, but it could be yours. And Idle Showdown got a brand new trailer that showed up at EVO. This game honestly was really impressive and is a hell of a lot of fun. So I feel like if any part of this, I'm a huge Picora fan. I love USADA Picora. It's my favorite shit. So what I'm trying to tell you is that I've always been a Picora fan, and anybody that says otherwise, you can kiss my nuts and suck my ass. To check it out. If Idle Showdown has always seemed like it's an interesting game, it actually is. I'd recommend you jump in and try it at some point, because it actually has good rollback netcode, and it's well supported, and it's got a hardcore fan base and all of this stuff. So the fact that there's even more updates coming out is cool. I don't know how they're budgeting it. I don't know how it's happening, because the game already has so much stuff in it, but they're doing it, you know? They're doing it. So all props to them. It's an interesting game, and it's just cool to see like fan-based made fighting games, getting so much of a spotlight as this one. Also, this is a good one to talk about, because this game is still in development. Rivals of Aether 2, right? Big shout out to Dan. Dan was a guy that created Rivals. Worked on Killer Instinct before Rivals. You remember him literally telling me about this Rivals of Aether thing back in like 2013. Way before. Did they really get this animator for this trailer? I haven't seen this. Oh my god. I love this guy. Who's the guy that does these animations? This is actually incredible. This is actually incredible. Holy hell. That is super cool. So yeah, proper like big 3D Rivals of Aether follow-up, you know? This game had a pretty hardcore fan base for part 1. This game's just looking great, like everything animation-wise. I think this game looks quite good. This might be something that would be fun for Yo Video Games to just eventually check out, but everybody that says they played Rivals, the old 2D one, you know, says that's freaking fantastic. So it's just nice to see more updates, more stuff, more fighting games made by smaller development teams and also being supported by their fan bases. I think that's incredibly cool. And man, this stuff is looking very polished. Holy shit. So Grandblue just recently had its beta. I didn't think it felt great in the beta. I kind of had issues with it, but I'm definitely willing to check it out when it comes out, because this game is going through a pretty big overhaul that I think is going to go through an overhaul again, because some people had some issues with mechanics in the beta. I hope some of the netcode stuff does get alleviated, because while some people felt the netcode was fine, I did not. I felt this game felt really sluggish online and had a ton of input delay. So I'm thinking that's just like an early state rollback thing where their delay frames are set a bit too high, and I hope that can get solved. But the most fascinating thing about what's happening to Rising in the future is the fact that the game is going to be going free to play. Do they announce it in here? I don't know if they do. There's going to be a proper free to play version of Grandblue Fantasy versus Rising that is limited roster. So they're doing something fairly close to what Killer Instinct and other fighting games have done in the past, which was like Dead or Alive. So it's kind of like free to try. Ultimately, this is smart. This is incredibly smart, because it is an attempt, right? It's an attempt to get you to jump in and try it. It's not a full commitment to like large scale battle pass monetization, free to play stuff. No. All we really need with fighting games that are quote-unquote free-to-play in some way, it isn't an end-all be-all. You just have to incentivize people to check out the game in some way. And yeah, as somebody in the chat is saying, it's like, I think Gran stays free, right? And there's other rotating characters along with him. So it's like a rotation of constantly like one main and 3 other rotating characters, which is smart. That's exactly what Killer Instinct's free-to-play was, and a similar thing that Dead or Alive did with the base package in DOA 5 that ultimately led to that game's huge success, that let people just jump in and try it. And now you have this situation where the game's gonna have better netcode. Hopefully it gets even ironed out even more by the time it comes out. It's funny when you see some of these games get rollback updates and they don't announce crossplay, and it's like, ah, man, you hit one spot, like you almost hit a home run, and then it suddenly went foul, because it's still a home run to get rollback netcode for a fighting game, but really it's a 2-piece process, because crossplay and rollback netcode are ultimately what you have to do between all these friggin' platforms. I know it's a pain in the ass, and it's absolutely insane that these devs have to listen to these fucking assholes like myself complain about rollback for so many years, and then finally get rollback in these games and be like, okay, so now crossplay. Right? And they're like, Jesus, we just can't make these piece of shit fans happy. These fucking fighting game players will never be happy. Trust me, that's where it ends. Okay, you get other single player content, you can make your game an arcade game, but really rollback and crossplay are always 2 things that complement each other, which is why it's sort of a backhanded thing that a game like Samurai Showdown getting rollback but not crossplay, and it's like, ah, shit, you're so close. Things like Dragon Ball are in a similar situation, and that's another thing that is a not announcement at EVO. No big Dragon Ball update, bruh. Bruh. Like, whoa, bruh. Like that. And that shit pains me, because I feel like I've been wanting to jump into Dragon Ball and try it out and relearn characters that I really enjoy playing in that game. But bruh, like, not with the way the game currently is, though. Definitely not. And I feel like the rollback update maybe had like a negative impact on the game in some way, albeit still a great EVO show, a huge amount of people that joined, more people than last year. I feel like a lot of people are waiting for that goddamn update, and they, right before EVO happened, they said no, we have no update about the rollback update. So that's unfortunate. It's just great to see other fighting games that are Arc System Works related, like Grandblue versus Rising, go through a change like that. That's everything, dude. I think that's the majority of announcements that are at EVO. A shit ton. There's like 16 updates, new fighting games, brand new updates to old fighting games deal. There's like 16 different games that are happening over the past or over the next like year or so, approximately. And that doesn't even include all the other stuff. There is one more thing that I have to tell you about. There is one more quote-unquote announcement that happened at EVO, and it's related to Marvel vs. Capcom. Granted, it's probably not related to MVC in the way that you think. This video popped up over the past few days for MVC. And when I tell y'all, you're setting yourself up for disappointment if you're expecting there to be any Marvel vs. Capcom announcements from Marvel or Capcom. And because the future of the game is here. The future of MVC resides with fans, which is why I literally put my own money into some of this stuff, technically. And they're doing amazing things. Like, absolutely amazing things. Real Marvel vs. Capcom 4 is happening right in front of your eyes. If you don't want to accept it, you don't have to. This is fan-made character editions that we've been covering for years now. And they are being added plentifully to the game pretty much every single month. There's like a new character, a new thing, a big update every single friggin' month. And now, you know, with the Clone Engine update, you can actually select all these characters with all the original roster. So it's super cool, right? It's super cool. There was also something I really wanted to show off in here, outside of all the ridiculous cool shit that Cali Kings has made with his characters. And it's this. Check this out, bro. Captain Commando, which was his first character, got hella updated. My turn. And has all of his crazy squad. Has all the old school Capcom squad. And they literally fight with him now. It's insanely cool. And also, like, brand new voice acting. So, crazy polish. Where are these models from? I don't know. I think they might have gotten them commissioned. Like, no shit. Look at this shit. It's just... Dude, like, this shit is crazy to me, bro. Look at this. It's what the hell? What the hell? Made them using other models. Yes, so they've been properly Marvel versus Capcom. They've been palette swapped in some way, you know? Obviously, Baby's taking chunks of Tron and, like, Hagar, maybe? Like, there's little bits all over the place here. It's incredibly cool, dude. So, to me, the future of Marvel vs. Capcom is here. If you just search Marvel vs. Capcom 3 mods, you'll find the links to these things in Google. And, yeah, the updates are getting massive. There's even more stuff coming in the future outside of this, which includes a request for a fan character that has been around for a long time and is actually about to become a reality. Cali Kings is turning John Talbane into a real boy. Still, it's early, right? It's early, but John Talbane is about to be an actual character, a new Darkstalkers. A male Darkstalkers character is about to be added to Marvel 3, which doesn't exist. Doesn't even exist. We'd have to wait till Jeddah showed up later in MVCI. Is that the end of EVO? Is that the actual end of EVO? I think so. I think fighting games are in a pretty good state right now. Also, the fact that EVO was one of the biggest esports competitions in terms of attendance ever might have like set an insane record or some shit in terms of overall attendance, the actual biggest thing. And this is nuts because it comes alongside the news that a decline in like esports in general, that like a lot of esports are essentially dying or dead. And as of right now, the fighting game community is doing better than it ever has. So, moderate golf clap.